All right, so I'm gonna do a little spoken word, just to give you some context. I actually meant to do this last month because it was Black History Month. I'm from Nigeria, so a lot of the spoken word I'm gonna do is influenced from my background. Of course, it has like African American, you know, big African American icons in it, but a lot of it is it's kind of a mix. So if don't fret if you don't know certain names or things that I say. All right. So all day I march with admirable madness of MLK. Bootstrap, backpack packed with every ammunition of the black, my consciousness and mind of fighting any attack that comes against my core. Bones layer with dated charcoal and the strength of the unmined iron ore, I get my shovel. And I begin to bore into history with every book off the shelf of Tuskegee to pride, the pride of the kept for only the free. From Alexandria's library to Orumila's sagacity, respected like the words of King Marcus Garvey, I will understand. Through the protest music of Fela Kuti, the indefatigability of Muhammad Ali, education as valuable as Booker T to the creed, the reason and rights of true equality, quelling the hungry mind, like the writings of W.E.B. The world will wonder how we did not remember that hate was not the natural state of man from the late Nelson Mandela, and would engage in the word of Douglas to know the tenacity of Sankara and share the love for Africa that runs as deep as that of Kwame and Nkrumah. Sit with Rosa Parks as she stood her ground, and an angel would sit on our side, shine and proud like the prayers of Desmond Tutu. Black consciousness would breathe through Steve Biko, the callous hands of Harriet Tubman, the fighting spirits of Nkonto Sizwe and Walter Sisulu. The majestic words of Maya Angelou will always ring true. And the fire of dedicated love will leap through the heart of Malcolm X to perplex and educate the masses, from which will come the entry of bravery of Huey and cause capitalism to quiver like heated up molasses. Lewis lighting up our minds to see through Baldwin's clarity, racism rendering the world blind, and we will know, because of Joe Slovo, that the power show will be stopped by the youth once we're willing and able to find and embrace the African to the continents of the American, to the European, Asian, Indian, as we carve out the beauty of such an unbeatable bind. France Fanon fought and amplified the force of revolution, and I saw firsthand Fannie Lou Hamill's wail for the vexation of an unheard, crying, pain-filled nation. Lumumba peut jamais être oublié parce que we will know our roots run from Kunta to Haley. Poetical passion of hues laced with the piano's pain will drive one insane like the music of Simone, and stripped from the garden like the strange fruits of Billie Holiday. And we will know and say we can think like Latuli, the ingenuity of Cabral, and decipher the moving hearts like Marley. We've been educated in the Freedom School, and from the backs in the corner of the ring will spring like the objectives of the Black Panther Party, standing with the Black Star Alliance of Pan-Africanists, walking with the Ethiopian movement and abolitionists, fighting with the revolution and power to the people, riding railway tracks of underground people. Tommy Smith, John Carlos, and Peter Norming, running mankind further than Prometheus when they raised their fists high from Olympus to the Kilimanjaro steeple. Thank you.
All right, all right, all right. Can I have like a round of applause for the 5 people here? Woo! Yay! All right, good. I feel so guilty about doing that. Forcing you guys. Here's my impression of a therapist having sex. Ready? Therapist having sex. And how does that make you feel? Okay, I know that joke's good. All right. I have a bad habit of speeding a lot, but whenever I see a cop like on the highway and I've been speeding, what I do is I just slam the brakes. And if I've been driving at 80 and I see the cop, I see him way too late, like 10 feet away, and I slam the brakes and I just roll past him at 30. But like he saw me speeding. You know what I mean? Who am I tricking? It's the equivalent of like walking past someone with your hands in your pockets and whistling like you weren't up to anything bad. And he saw me do the bad thing. I'm not saving it now. It's like if I were to rob a bank and a cop came and said, "Hey, put your hands up," and then I just quietly put some of the money back in. Doesn't do anything. I have this habit of if I'm driving on the highway and I see someone driving like fast, I'll just follow that guy. Because in my head, if the cop pulls us over, like I'm gonna be fine because he's in front of me. Like if we're both driving and the cop comes behind and pulls us both over, and he pulls and he's just like talking to us and he's like, "Hey, you both are going at 100 miles an hour," and then he goes, "But you were behind him, so you're free to go. You beat the system. You're completely fine." I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. The other thing I do is if there's a cop in front of me, I do a bunch of illegal shit. Like I change lanes willy-nilly, and that's because cops, they're not gonna pull anybody over in reverse, you know? Okay. Today I made eye contact with a guy from Jimmy John's as I was putting Sprite into a water cup. It was pretty cool. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me and then he was like, savage. And then he just rode his little bicycle out of there. So I found out something interesting about Jimmy John's. If you're ordering online and you put in special instructions, if you put cut the crust off like my mom used to, when they actually deliver you the sandwich, they'll go, hey, go fuck yourself. So found that out today. I eat at Jimmy John's a lot. Today I was at Jimmy John's and I forgot my cell phone. And I'm going to be honest, it was pretty fucking weird. I was eating there, I had no cell phone, so I had to like look at what I was eating. I had to make eye contact with people. It was creepy. I felt like a serial killer, is what I'm saying. Cool. I don't understand the movie theater experience. I think it needs to end now. Because now movie theaters have bars. Have you seen this? Not where you can go get a beer, but like bars that like sell vodka and shit. Who's taking shots and then sitting in a dark room for 2.5 hours? Doesn't make sense. And now, the whole movie theater experience is engineered very weirdly. Like, what are the two most popular foods at the movie theaters? Popcorn and nachos. Hey, follow-up question. What are the two fucking noisiest foods known to man? Popcorn and nachos. In case you didn't get that. Don't go to an Indian movie theater. Don't do that. They're the worst because Indians have no fucking basic respect for anybody. They're fucking savages, all of them, and horribly racist. I don't care. And if you walk into an Indian movie theater, this is how they text. First of all, their fucking brightness is all the way up, and they're all on WhatsApp talking to the family they left behind. And they don't text down here. They text up here, and they go, hey, are y'all fucking seeing this shit? You guys see how bright my light is right now? That's how they text. I hate it. One time there was an Indian couple behind me, and they were just talking out loud throughout the movie. And the whole time I was like, if they say something, if they say one more thing, I'm going to get mad. And then they would say one more thing, and I'm like, all right, if they say one more thing, I'm going to get mad. And eventually, like, the guy he said one more. He was like, hey, kya hale, or whatever. And I turned and I was like, hey, can you shut the fuck up? And then the person right next to me was like, dude, shh. And I was like, what? We're on the same side. Go to a movie theater alone. It's awesome. Do it. You got to do it. I do it all the time. And here, you save money because, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you use a little kiosk on the side, you can just buy a child ticket. Nobody's checking. Seriously, do it. The machine is stupid. You can buy one child ticket for a rated R movie. And they haven't figured out a way to like stop you. Like I did that. I bought the child ticket, and it had worked for like 6 times straight. But I went to the Regal Cinemas over here at Atlantic Station, and I gave it to the guy, and he was like, "This is a child ticket." And there were many things I could have said. I could have said somebody else bought it for me. I wasn't looking. I didn't read it. But instead, I was like, "Oh no, I'm a child." That was my comeback. One thing you'll see, so if you go alone, do it. Promise me you'll do it. It's so much fun because you get to see you just get to see everything in a new light. You get to see all these dates, and it's just so fucking sad. Like, you walk in and you just see single girls because they sent all their boyfriends out to get them shit to eat. And they're just single girls, and they have like 4 jackets on them. Like, every girl decides to hibernate in the movie theaters. She's like, oh, it's cold. Could you get my jacket? Can I have your jacket? Because it's cold in here. Could you get me like the carcass of a horse to sleep in, like the Revenant? Because it's super cold right now. And then you walk outside and you see just guys in like concession stands, and that's the saddest because they're just like, hey, could I just get like a Sour Patch straws? And they're like, all right, that'll be $1,200. And they're like, okay, $1,200. Yeah, I don't know. She wants a Sour Patch straws. I don't know. Maybe I'll get a hand job later. I don't know. All right, this is it. I'm almost done. This is good. Thank you for listening to all the new shit. It's not fun listening to new stuff. I'm gonna be honest, but it's okay. Come back to one of my actual shows and I'll kill. I wish I was better at being happy for people. I just can't do it. Like, my friend recently got an internship with Google, and he called me to tell me about it. And I was immediately upset I could feel myself getting upset. And then another voice came out, and the other voice said, you should be happy for him. Which, if you've ever heard that voice, if your brain has ever said you should be happy for him, what it's really trying hard not to say is, why didn't I get that? Why didn't I get that thing that he got? I deserve that. He doesn't deserve it. So he's talking to me, and like, I would never want to work for Google. I've never even applied. But there's a part of me that wants Google to want me to work for them, you know? And he's talking to me, and I'm just being a total dick. He's like, yeah, I'll work at Google, and then I kind of want to go into investment banking. And I text back, yeah, if finance is your thing, ... The fuck is that supposed to mean? That's so cruel. And I know I'm doing it. And then he goes, yeah, the internship's great. I get to make a lot of money. And I was like, yeah, if money's your thing, ... If money's your thing, what does that even? Yeah, man, if food and shelter is what you're into, man. I don't know about you. I synthesize all my nutrients from sunlight, so I guess I'm better than you. But yeah, that's what you're into, bro. It's horrible. And I realized I was doing it. And then there's another voice that comes into my head. And that other voice says, you recognize that you're being a bad person. And you know what type of person knows when he's being a bad person? A really, really good person. Zane, you are a really, really good person. You're like, my inner monologue is gay, by the way. You're like so good. Like, you're better than Google. You don't need Google. Google needs you. Google needs him because you're better than him. You know what? You should be happy for him. All right, thank you guys. Thank you. Good night.
Yeah, so I'm going to be trying some new stuff as well. So if I'm counting, based on the number of people here, I'm counting breathing as laughter. And I'm counting that as an applause break. Yeah, I've been here a while. I've been thinking about my life here a lot. I've been thinking about who I am. I've been doing a lot of self-introspection. I've been thinking about, like, my parents have been my grandparents keep calling me up to like tell me about like religious stuff that I have to do, and I started thinking about my religion more. I'm actually really glad that I'm a Hindu, that like I'm a loose Hindu. I feel like it's a really good place to be, because if I go around and I look at like how people think of religion everywhere else, I feel like most religions are like kind of hardcore tech schools. Like, you know, you're born, there's these things you have to do. If you can do them well, you're set forever. If you don't do them, you are so screwed. I feel like that's most religions, and I think Hinduism is like the liberal arts college of religions. I feel like it makes sense, like you know, because other religions have like one god, and you have to obey him, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and if you can impress him, you're set. And Hinduism walks in, and it's just like, yeah, you know what? We don't believe in one God because we don't believe in constraining our worshippers into such a narrow field. So we actually cater to every single worshipper by assigning individual gods. We pride ourselves on our low student to deity ratio. Like, I really do feel it's like kind of the liberal arts college of religions that way. And yeah, I'm probably gonna work on that joke later. And I remember I saw the Super Bowl happen like a couple of months back, and I tried to get into it. I've always tried to get into the Super Bowl, but I can't, because I feel like coming from India, like the India-Pakistan cricket rivalry kind of spoiled it for me. Like, no other sport here is able to compare. Like, I tried getting into the Super Bowl, I tried getting into the NBA, into pretty much everything. I realized the problem. I can no longer get emotionally invested in a sport that does not involve nuclear weapons. I feel like that's the bar that's been set for me. Like, that's the problem. I think India-Pakistan's kind of spoiled it for me that way. Like, if I have three requirements when I sit down to watch a sport. Is it easy to follow? Yes. Is it fun to watch? Yes. Will it start the apocalypse? No. Like, yeah, I feel like that's kind of where I'm at sports, you know. And it's funny because like American commentators, they really like to like hype up the game. They try to sell you on the Super Bowl, like, it's the 50th Super Bowl, this is going to be epic, the stakes have never been higher. The stakes have never been higher. And I'm just like, dude, I come from cricket between two nuclear armed nations. Unless it involves antimatter or Death Stars, I think the stakes could be higher. But I like the Super Bowl. I like the showmanship around the Super Bowl. I like the fact that you have like planes flying overhead and all that stuff. That's cool. I wish we could have that back home. We can't. I spoke to some family members. For some reason, they weren't comfortable with having Pakistani fighter jets fly over them. Yeah. I'm going to work on that one too. I once, I'm going to end on this one. I once, I was walking down the street once and I once saw this girl wearing a t-shirt that said, "I'm a real bitch." This is true. She was actually wearing this t-shirt. And I stopped and I looked at her and I was really confused because in my mind it didn't make sense. Because if you were actually a real bitch, why would you tell everyone that you're a real bitch? Like, that's not something you advertise. Like, think of what makes up a good bitch. Like, a good bitch is hidden. She's unnoticeable. When you approach her, she seems nice. She talks to you. You go on a couple dates with her. Third date, maybe you get lucky. It's going well. Then she calls you out to meet her friends. You go to the restaurant. You sit down, and in front of everyone, bam, you have a tiny penis. Like, that's what makes a real bitch. That is how a good bitch does not advertise. That's not a bitchy quality. And I remember getting angry at the girl because I was just like, look, lady, being a bitch is such a delicate art form across so many different cultures. Like, I have family and friends who have been practicing this for generations. And you are disgracing the art form by just parading it around. You know, women like you are a real, I don't know what to call you except a bitch. So I guess you win. Side note, that's only for women. If a guy walks around wearing a shirt that says, "I'm a real douchebag," you know he's a real douchebag. All right. Thank you, guys.
Hey guys, I'm going to be doing a song called Runaround Sue. Here's my story, it's sad but true. It's about a girl that I once knew. She took my love, then ran around with every single guy in town. Goes out with other guys. Now the moral and the story from the guy who knows. I fell in love and my love still grows. Ask any fool that she ever knew. Say keep away from Runaround Sue. Whoa, 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 whoa. Thanks.
Good evening, guys. I wish I knew that new jokes was an excuse for bad comedy before. I would have used it as an excuse before. Anyways, I came here about 3 weeks ago with the intent of making people laugh, but I don't care about that anymore. I'm just here to say radical shit and get away with it because I can. So, you know, I've had bad teachers during my schooling life, and most of these bad teachers are back in India. These are horrible people. I mean, they'd swear at me. They'd say, like, I'm going to beat you up. They'd question my lineage and things like that. But interestingly, the worst and scariest teacher that I ever had was here in the US, in California, when I was in preschool. Yeah, in preschool. My worst teacher was when I was in preschool. And she was the worst teacher I ever had because she threatened to cut my tongue out. And for those of you wondering, I was 3 years old. And before I tell you what I actually did to have a teacher say that the best way to discipline this child is to cut his tongue out, I want you to think about what could a child possibly do. Like, the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, maybe he ate sand. Maybe he spit on another child. Some of you with wilder imaginations might be thinking, oh my God, he performed cunnilingus on another girl. I mean, I feel like you can only think radical thoughts in that crazy voice. But yeah, I mean, if a 3-year-old performed cunnilingus on a girl, I'd probably cut his tongue out too. But it was none of that. She actually threatened to cut my tongue out because I called another kid stupid. And that was the entire reason why. And she didn't stop it at it when my mom came to pick me up. She was like, your son called this other guy stupid. You Indians, you treat your sons like they're gods and you don't know how to discipline them. She went all racist and shit. And the reason she did not cut my tongue out was because it was not Russia. I mean, I think it's important to note that she was from Russia. So when she was shaking my shoulder and saying, I'm going to cut your tongue out, she's like, in Mother Russia, I would have cut your tongue out. And, my eyes were tearing up because, her breath reeked of alcohol because that's what Russians do. And it was pretty fucking scary, right? Like, imagine this tall teacher and it was the 90s and the Cold War had just ended. And for those of you who don't know, Russia lost that war. So I guess she was feeling pretty shitty. Her country lost the war and everything. And I mean, it's understandable. I sympathize with her. But I question the American adults who did not realize that she was pretty obviously a spy. Now come to think of it, she always dressed in red. She wore red t-shirts all the time. And, for Halloween, she even dressed as a red M&M. Like, the fuck were you doing, parents? Like, she was screaming spy right at your face and you weren't taking notice. And, yeah, when I was revisiting this incident, I was like, holy shit. When I was in preschool, I was taught the alphabets by a Russian spy. Like, no wonder I messed up in life. And I think a whole bunch of chain reactions happened after that, and that's why I'm standing here right now. And that's it. Good night.
2, testing 1, 2. All right, everybody, my name is Keith Cutts. I've been here a couple of times. I am doing a thing coming up on Monday over at Eddie's Attic, where it's like this acoustic kind of performance, vote for whichever one you think does the best type thing. So they don't allow any loop pedals or octaves or anything like that. So I'm kind of going naked today with just the uke, but it's good practice here to go ahead and do my songs just stripped into clean. This first one's going to be the Elephant Song. I think I'm plugged in. Okay. Let me double check up here. Appears to be plugged in right here.
Are you sure the other end of that cable? Are there two cables going into the eye box?
Looks like there's 2 cables going in here.
Okay. Pull the one out of the keyboard and use that one, because that may be a bad cable.
Okay. There are two of them here, so maybe I want
Exactly. No, so one of them's going into the keyboard.
Yeah.
All right. Take the one out of the keyboard.
Okay.
And put it in your U.
All right.
Yeah, and that should work.
Problem solved. Okay. There once was a circus that would travel around from town to town. Big top animals, clowns. In the brown tent was a pregnant elephant. Listen up close, this is where it gets relevant. The elephant soon gave birth to a calf. The calf stood up in just under a half hour. So they put a stake in the ground without making a sound. Fastened a brace around the ankle of the animal to keep it contained. Initially he pulled on and struggled and strained until he realized he was fully detained. Tethered by the rope, that is where he remained. Day after day, he would struggle and jerk, but to his despair, it seemed nothing would work. To pull out the stake that was holding him back. No lying, he stopped trying, and that was that. How many opportunities have we missed? Constrained by walls that no longer exist, limiting the way that we think and act. Let's make imagine boundaries a thing of the past. How many opportunities have we missed? Constrained by walls that no longer exist, limiting the way that we think and act. Let's make imagine boundaries a thing of the past. Well, the calf grew up to be a full-grown male, 20 feet from the tip of his trunk to his tail. If he tried to roam now, it's a well-known fact. Stake would fly out the ground or the rope would snap. But there he stayed, tied to the wooden stake. Freedom was a chance he no longer would take. You ever felt like the elephant in this tale, thinking if you tried he'd only fail? How many opportunities have we missed? Constrained by walls that no longer exist, limiting the way that we think and act. Let's make imagine boundaries a thing of the past. How many opportunities have we missed? Constrained by walls that no longer exist, limiting the way that we think and act. Let's make imagine boundaries a thing of the past. I love people who do what they're not supposed to, like the Miami Heat's coach Eric Spoelstra, to be the very first Filipino on the scene to coach an NBA championship team. 2008 brought some boundary-breaking drama with new White House resident President Obama, discouraged by people who thought they knew best. But those are all limits he refused to accept. So take a good look at what's holding you back and question what you may have thought of was fact. The truth will be a wind to gust and blow those imagined boundaries away like smoke. How many opportunities have we missed? Constrained by walls that no longer exist, limiting the way that we think and act. Let's make imagine boundaries a thing of the past. How many opportunities have we missed? Constrained by walls that no longer exist, limiting the way that we think and act. Let's make imagine boundaries a thing of the past. right, we got one more song. We're gonna do. Which one should we do? Okay. One last song I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do the song called "Come Alive." When I was 5 years old, I realized there was a road, and wherever it went, I was dying to go. Enthusiasm, unbridled and free, just me. Nobody I was trying to be. The sky and the trees filled my heart with optimism. My mind was at peace, I had a love for living. On fields of green grass, frisbees and beanbags, I'd play all day with my friends, and we'd dream that it's fourth quarter. NBA Finals, 3 seconds left on the clock, the crowd's wild. Paul makes the inbound, Chad makes the dish. Keith takes a shot, swish. Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs are people who have come alive. Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs are people who have come alive. Are you happy with your 9 to 5? Or did you take the first one that you could find? Survival is essential with bills to pay in this day and age. Hey, I feel you. We all have mouths to feed, including our own. But if we don't pursue our passions, they cast in a role that's not our own, our hearts can grow cold. My briefcase has space for pens, I should fill it with chalk instead. And some caution tape, because each office day I'm surrounded by walking dead. Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs are people who have come alive. Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs are people who have come alive. Have you heard of Kayla Montgomery? High school athlete who runs cross country. Not the fastest, in fact, she was the slowest, and then she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. She would notice every time she'd run, her legs would go numb. Doctors told her she wouldn't walk much longer and she should take it easy. Instead, she ran stronger. She came alive and ran passionately. She became ranked nationally. It's not in her knowledge how to quit, and now she runs in college on scholarship. Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs are people who have come alive. Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs are people who have come alive. Awesome. Thanks, y'all.
I gotta say, compared to most crowds that I've performed for in the past, most were larger than this one. I gotta say. So good for you guys for like staying in shape and everything. Like that's really good. I think I have an important question. Why do they call the services that are performed by prostitutes tricks? Are you familiar with this? They call them tricks, and it doesn't really make any sense to me. Like I don't really get where the trick is. You know, it really kind of contradicts my previous understanding of the word trick. I don't think that anyone's ever hired a prostitute and then afterwards been like, how the fuck did she do that? Her hands move so quickly. And then there's that one annoying guy in the audience who's like, I've seen this one before. I know how she does it. I can show you later. And then his son is like, Dad, gross. You can't just talk to people like that. You do this every show. Mom, he does this every show. I feel like it's always the shady industries that are misleading people. Like as an example, I had a job once. I heard that that in the porn industry there are specific employees that in between the sets they will help the male actors keep the show going. If you catch my drift, they if you feel me, they help them keep the chicken chipper. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, they help them maintain an erection in between sets. If you catch my drift, and I could just see somebody having that job, and then going up to his boss and just being like, look, man, I really got to talk about my job. It's got great benefits and everything, but I really didn't know what I was getting into when I signed up to be the handyman here. Some of my fondest memories as a child, when I was around 5 years old. This is a new joke. It's not about porn. Some of my fondest memories from when I was a kid were, when I was about, probably like 4 or 5 years old, was going to the zoo with my family. I loved to go to the zoo, and I remember my dad. He would carry me on his shoulders at the zoo, and I remember one day I was on my dad's shoulders, and I looked up at the monkeys, and I was like, 1 monkey, 2 monkey, 3 monkey, and then as soon as my dad heard this, it was like, he couldn't believe what I had just said, and he throws me off of his shoulders, right? And I hit the ground, and as soon as I hit the ground, it was like my dad came out of a trance. He couldn't believe what had come over him. He apologized profusely to me. He said, "I'm sorry, son. I don't know what happened." And then he picked me up. He bought me a lemonade, and we had a great rest of the day at the zoo. And I guess what I'm trying to say with this story is that my dad was a good father and a good man, but you just couldn't count on him. You know what really grinds my gears? Lack of adequate lubrication. The keys on my keyboard are rather sticky, right? And it might be a common problem. And it's really getting to be an issue for me because I'll press down a key and it'll just create a bunch of letters and it's like I'm slurring all my words through text. It's like I'm drunk in my emails, and it's getting to be such a big problem. And I was complaining about it to my friend, and he told me that I should stop masturbating so much, which I think that comment is totally uncalled for. It's like, okay, sometimes I like to eat candy while I browse the web, all right? And sometimes that candy's so good that I'll cum all over my keyboard, okay? So, you guys are a tough crowd, I gotta say. And by that I mean tough enough to sit through this bullshit. Thank you very much. My name's Chase Moon. You guys have a good night.
Yeah, it's the snare drum. I just want I don't have to use the mic. Okay. Would anyone like to name that one? Anyone? Just say anything. Come on, it's not too bad. It's okay. If you name that something stupid, it doesn't have to be the name.
Cornbread.
What? What was that?
Cornbread.
Cornbread. Does anyone else want to name it? Anyone else want to give cornbread a name?
Cornbread souffle.
Cornbread souffle.
Do you have any ideas?
Well, okay, I'll tell you about where I'm coming down here because like I can't see when I'm standing up. The light's really bright. That song, I thought of it when I was okay. So it's partly planned and partly improvised. The way the song works is you start like there's this melody which is the written down part that stays the same every time. That there. And then on top of it, there's variations that I do. So every 4 times, I start a new sort of type of variation play. And then sometimes I'll just like add extra melodies. And so how I thought of that song when I started just playing like that when I was in MARTA, and I was feeling kind of creepy because I was walking slowly, like back and forth, and sort of like just like watching people. And I guess typically when there's some strange man walking around back and forth, keeping an eye on everyone, that's creepy. So then I was like thinking, oh, I'm a creepy person walking by, so I started playing music, and that was like my march as I just walked up and down the MARTA. I played that song, and that's where it came from. Cornbread souffle was written at MARTA while I was watching a pigeon eat pizza crusts out of the train track.
It was cornbread.
No, it was cornbread. So to the pigeon, it was cornbread souffle. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. So now I'll play another song of the same style. This one was written later that day. And I marched across campus while I played this. Until somebody screamed at me, "I want to be you!" And then I got really arrogant and like started like playing it louder, and then like I couldn't play anymore, and then like I just couldn't play. for a little bit. Then I played again a few minutes later. Perhaps I shouldn't say so much in front of the song. We'll have expectations. Perhaps you should try to forget. Oh, there it is.
Hey guys. So I'm Daniel Dotson. This is my brother Josh Dotson. Today we are going to play a song by Kevin Devine, one of my favorite artists. It's called You'll Only End Up Joining Them. Tonight I'm posed and popping like a peacock, pressing flesh, I'm smiling big. My spinning head sings stop, just stop. Cause what used to calm me down just rips my life to ribbons now. So I keep smiling, I find my window and quick cut out. These days my hangman's hunger makes my gut kick. My sleeping mind could map it blind. A flask, a key, a bag, a fifth. I try to will myself away while shouting habits plead their case. So when the sun sears through my eyes, my beggar's brain can compromise. I splash cold water, I draw the curtains, I stay inside. And I can't say that it's a sickness, more like a stranger I asking. Later realize was a strangler, slipping nooses in my den. But I was lonely, so I asked him, would you tie that one on me? It wasn't his fault, I was eager and I was weak. Towards resolution, yeah, I'm not sure which life feels right. A narrow noose or the waiting water, the hanging nets or open eyes. My brother, he went one way, and at the fork I heard him say, don't you follow, don't go making my mistakes. And I realized what he meant, don't kill yourself to raise the dead. It never works, you'll only end up joining them. Thank you.